Welcome back to the Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, joined by co-host Jeff.
Hey, Mark, how you doing? Enjoying the wrestling?
It is indeed Wrestling Month. But before we get into what we watched this week, Jeff, plug the music.
Oh, right. We got to talk about Flipside Music. The song you heard at the beginning and end of this episode was brought to you by Flipside Music. You can find him on YouTube. You can find him on flipsidemusic.net. And you can look in the links in the descriptions and, click on one of those and listen to some more of his music. Really fun stuff. And we appreciate him allowing us to use his music on the podcast.
I wonder if anybody ever comes up and is like, hey, catch you on the flippity flip.
I mean, it's
a possibility.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're wrapping up Professional Wrestling Month here in the month of May 2024. And this week, we bid adieu to the wrestlers, the Von Erich brothers.
Farewell, Von Erich brothers.
This week we watched the 2023 biography. It's a biography of all.
I would call it a biopic.
A biopic, yep. We watched The Iron Claw, directed by and written by Sean Durkin, and it runs for 2 hours and 12 minutes. Rated R. We watched this on Max. We've been patiently waiting to watch it. Yeah, Jeff, why did we center the theme around this film?
Because it's one that I believe we both have been wanting to watch. I know you and myself are both Zac Efron fans. Go back and check out the episode we did on The Greatest Showman and how we both had man crushes. And also,
my man crush my man crush took a dip with his hair selection, and we gotta talk about.
He doesn't look that good in this movie. We'll get to it.
Yeah, okay.
Because normally Zac Efron's a beefcake. I do think, although his physique is incredible.
Yeah,
I do think this is a lesser, purely on the handsome scale, not quite as what we saw in other films.
My wife, while we were watching this, asked me if that was a bodysuit.
No, that guy's a freak of nature.
No, I'm like, no, bro.
Yeah.
That's that man's real body.
Yeah, he's a freak. And the other thing, so I'm a wrestling fan, so obviously I want to watch it. You're a fan of pretension, so it's A24. I figured you'd be on board.
Yep.
And so here we go. Let's watch The Iron Claw. This is my first time watching it. I believe you patiently waited as well.
I did.
But before we dive into your thoughts, what did Mrs. Drafthouse think?
So, I mean, her collection of thoughts immediately after was, that movie was sad. And then I was like, yeah, sad, yeah, cool. But what'd you think? And she's like, why'd they all die?
Well, because that's what happened in real life.
Right.
Kind of. I've got some more.
Right. So my wife is not a deep thinker when it comes to movies. She likes to be entertained. She likes good films, so it doesn't really matter if it's an indie film or a big blockbuster. If it's entertaining or piques her interest, which she's a Jeremy Allen White fan. Multiple times.
I've never heard of this dude before this movie.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he was one of the kids in what's that show?
Shameless. I'm looking at
Shameless. Yep. And then
The Rental. I did see The Rental.
I don't know which one that is, but
that's the one that was directed and written by Dave Franco with Allison Brie.
Oh yeah,
I know you've seen it.
Yeah. But he's very much an A-lister now, because of his show The Bear, on FX. Who I think it's in season 3 now, and it everybody loves it. He plays a chef, he's a trained or I don't even know how to describe it, but classically trained. I don't know.
Yeah.
Chef, but he goes into a partnership with his brother in Chicago to revive a Chicago staple diner, and it's really good. I mean, Jeremy Allen White's a phenomenal actor, but like he's mostly known for his TV roles, Shameless and The Bear, but it's The Bear I think that finally kind of catapulted him into this into like mainstream Hollywood. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts appearing in a shit ton more after this. I think this movie was successful, The Iron Claw.
It got some nominations.
Yeah, I mean it was released last fall in an attempt to garner award interest. I'm not sure why it didn't get more traction for some acting categories.
It's professional wrestling.
Maybe, and that might have something to do with it, but the story's interesting enough. I don't see how it couldn't be. And it's got very notable actors in it. So I don't really know why. And it got really rave reviews across the board. I just think maybe it was released too late in the award season and people had already identified kind of the contenders. But Jeff, before you get into what you thought, did this movie match your recollection of the story?
So, I was going to kind of save some things, but you asked the question. For the most part, yes. There's one huge omission in that, as tragic as this story is, it's actually more tragic in real life. Because
I don't see how it came.
Because you heard about the oldest boy died. He got electrocuted and drowned.
When he was young.
Very young.
Yeah.
And then David died of that intestinal issue over in Japan. That happened. Yep. Mike did get sick after his shoulder surgery and became disabled and then killed himself by taking drugs.
Yeah.
And then Carrie killed himself on the property with his dad's gun.
Yeah.
All of that's true. What's left out is another brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there was one more brother whose name escapes me. Not David. 1 second. I'll find it. But he actually was a wrestler as well. And but he unfortunately had some issues with his bones and like he would get injured a lot. And they said in this movie that when I was reading like a synopsis, like various synopsis and stuff, that they kind of rolled his story in with Mike's. But Mike's story is pretty much exactly as they said, right? Like it actually didn't contain any of Chris's story. Chris is the other brother. So Chris had asthma, his bones would break easily. So being a professional wrestler didn't work that well. Probably
should have drank some milk or some shit.
Well, I don't know how that works, but on September 12th of 1991, this is according to Wikipedia, at the age of 21, he shot himself in the head. His brother Kevin, who is the main character in this, and mother attempted to dissuade him from suicidal tendencies that same day, but he snuck away and did it and left a note. So there was another brother that killed themselves. And maybe they omitted it for the runtime or to say maybe this isn't that believable, but it did happen. And it just adds to... Kevin is the only surviving child.
That's wild.
Like everyone, all of them. I mean, David didn't kill himself, but the rest of them did. And it's crazy. And so I was listening to other podcasts about Fritz, who's the dad, and how overbearing he was, and they kind of really pushed that forward in this movie. But it's tragic. And even though I knew the story, after watching this, I still felt really sad. Like, it was still very effective of a presentation of their story.
Yeah. I don't know why they would admit another brother committing suicide. I mean, you got 3 already, so.
I think they wanted to end with Carrie because Carrie was the most high profile. Carrie's the only one who went to the WWF. He's the one I had heard of. Like, as a kid, I hadn't heard of any of these guys, and I never knew Kerry Von Erich's name. He was always the Texas Tornado in WWE, and that's how I knew him. And then come to find out later, after becoming an adult and learning more about wrestling history, did I learn about him and his family. But yeah, I think they maybe wanted to end with Kerry because he was the most famous of the brothers.
Yeah. So as this movie progressed, and like I knew a little bit. I knew this was a tragic story. I knew a lot of them died. I didn't realize all but one died, but I think by the end of it, the movie had desensitized me of feeling.
You knew it was coming, right?
Well, so it's not just that I knew it was coming. It's just that it kept coming.
Yeah.
Like, and typically a movie like this, a brother dies, and that's the big thing, right? One brother dies, or the only brother dies, or the only family member, dad, whoever it is. And that's enough to get the audience, like, just emotional, feels something. And I felt something for, I guess, the one that died in Japan.
David.
Is because you the story, the directing, the writing pointed to Zac Efron and his brother that was in Japan being very close. And the story played out a little bit to allow that to really blossom a little bit. And so, even though it was off screen, I thought the scene in the bathroom was very effective, where he's throwing up and there's blood all over the toilet bowl. Right?
Yeah, that was a great scene.
Highly effective. I felt something there. I was like, shit, it's coming. And so the fact that it happened off screen didn't bother me. Is because I felt the storytelling was good.
I also think it's deliberate because they wanted Kevin's perspective.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he was giving the shit end of the stick.
And Kevin would come in and find out, and it wasn't until Carrie died where that was like the most tragic, because he was the one that found Carrie
right
on the property. Even like going so far as like his brother was still gasping for air when he found him, which is just as even more heartbreaking to me anyway. But if you ever get a chance to watch the documentary about them, there's an episode of Dark Side of the Ring, which is all right, but there's the rise and fall, or the tragedy and triumph of world-class championship wrestling, is a really good documentary about it. And it also, there's, among that same league they worked for, Fritz von Erich's company, there were other tragic deaths along the way.
Yeah, I just throughout the film, and the film's very good in my opinion. The film is good. It tells the story well. There's a lot going on, and so just to tell a story where 4 out of 5 brothers die, you kind of have to, and it's still a 2-hour and almost 15-minute movie, so it's not a short film per se.
It's also not long.
No, right, and it doesn't really feel long either. But you kind of have to move with a brisk pace, and so I felt like this story is hard to tell with an emotional depth that makes you care about each. And I cared a lot about Mike, just simply because he was the different. Like, he was different. He didn't really want to do wrestling. He wanted to do the music thing. And when they snuck him out to go play his gig at the university or wherever they were at, I was for sure that was when he was going to die. I thought he was going to get drunk and DUI or some shit. Right.
No, I love that sequence too. Like, the thing I loved about this movie was the brotherhood.
Yeah.
And how close they were. Like, they all were kind of in this together. And by this, I mean living as children of Fritz von Erich.
Yeah.
And his way of parenting. There's the scene where he's like, he goes, all right, everyone here knows Carrie's my favorite, then Kev, and then
he's like, the order can change at any moment.
Yeah, the order can David, and then Mike, and he's like, but the order can change. Who does that?
Right.
And
I hated his character. I mean, it's good. He's a good actor because I hated him.
Callahan is so good in this movie. I think he is the best performance. My favorite part that he does is when he finds out that America will not be going to the Moscow Olympics and that Carrie won't be in the Olympics. All they do is the camera just kind of slowly zooms on his face. And he really doesn't have a lot of expression changes, but there is a seething underneath that comes through. I think he kills it in this movie.
I mean, he is an evil presence. In my opinion, it's like he does not allow. I mean, just from what he says about, like, hey, my favorite could be who's the flavor of the week this month, to shitting all over Zac Efron's character by giving his brother the title shot.
Well, that didn't bother me because that's business, but
why? I mean, Efron's character got
frankly,
you there.
because so the whole story there was that Kevin. So
he couldn't talk. He couldn't talk on camera. I mean,
so professional wrestling is a two-part thing.
Yeah.
Can you wrestle, and can you talk on the mic? And even back in this era, it was actually close to a one-part thing, right? Because guys like Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan, they aren't great wrestlers, right? They're not doing amazing shit, flipping off the top rope and all that, but they have the crowd behind them.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference. And one of the things that a lot of people say, like on the documentary, is like, David was the guy. David was the one that everyone thought was going to be the guy. And then he died. And then it just kind of fell to Carrie almost out of, like, the Carrie won that title shot that was supposed to go to David. And it almost just was like a consolation prize because his brother died.
Yeah.
And it was taking place in Texas.
Yeah, and it's I just like, the character of Fritz. He's not menacing, but he's bad. He's the antagonist of the film. But like, it's almost kind of cloudy, is because Holt McCallany does a really good job of just being this, like, hey, that's just my pops, that's just how he was raised. But like, if you look at it and you start questioning, you're like, oh, he's not a good guy. But see, like, the beginning of the movie wants us to cloud that, or the beginning of the movie clouds that for us, is because, like, we get the conversation of him after he's wrestled with his wife, and then right before we jump to the present day, we see him having a conversation with his two sons at the time, and we see him being like a dad, even though some of the things that he says, I'm like, but we see him being a dad. And so, like, that starts, and it's a very good scene. It's very effective. It's because that makes me question, hey, is this just him? Is he doing this because he really loves his sons? Or is he doing this because he just wants to make money? Or is he doing this because he just loves wrestling?
Well, you get the feeling, at least the way they present him in here, is, and this happens to a lot of wrestlers, they sort of think they're the shit, right? And it kind of goes along with wrestling and wrestlers. They just assume that if you give me all the things, we'll be super successful and I deserve everything. And the way they present Fritz is, you never gave, like the NWA, who is the overseeing body of professional wrestling in America, never put the championship on me, and they should have, as his opinion. And now he's built his own wrestling company, and it is actually a hit for a good portion of time, mostly when there's a big feud between the Von Erich brothers and the Fabulous Freebirds, where it's like red hot. They're selling out every show. But in the movie, you get the feeling that he's like, we're going to get that belt on us. We deserve it. It's ours. And it just feels like that's his motivation. Like, and it almost feels like that in a lot of ways, where like you have kids that want to be artists or want to do something other than be a doctor or a lawyer. And the family's like, no, you don't get to do that. That's how he was with wrestling.
Yeah.
Or sports in general. Like, he seemed perfectly fine with Carrie as long as he was going to make it to the Olympics.
Right.
And then as soon as that wasn't the case, he's like, oh, you're going to wrestle.
Yeah, it's a role that, like I said, blurs the line of, the right and the wrong, even though certain things were obviously wrong. And like us as parents, me and you, probably wouldn't do the same if we had 4 or 5 boys or girls, whatever it is. And parenting today is very different than parenting in the late 70s, right? That's when that took place, late 70s.
Yes.
And so I just like, there's certain parts of this film that I'm like, man, this is really good. But then it like kind of breezes through other parts that I'm like, man, I really wanted to see more of that. Like, I wanted to see more of Mike and like what led him to the decision to kill himself. We got this scene where he's playing his music. He's super happy. He's with his brothers. He's at this party at whatever university they went to. And we get that and like, very, very dynamic acting from this actor here too, where it's just he's super happy playing the guitar and singing, and then he gets hurt, and then he goes into a coma, and then we see him as kind of the shell of his former self, and then kind of the movie just kind of moves through his story a little bit without really going in depth. And I understand, you got 4 brothers here, and 3 out of the 4 die, in the movie. You got to tell certain parts of everything. But I felt like this movie could have been a 2 hour and 45-minute movie,
right? And
I probably would have been okay with it.
And they could have tacked in one last brother.
Yeah, you didn't have to cut out, the ghost boy. But yeah, and there's certain those decisions as far as like the filmmaking goes. And I don't know if that could have been a Sean Durkin thing. That could have been an A24 thing saying, hey, we're trying to get this to some awards recognition. 2 hours, 45 minutes is probably a little long for that. Especially for a biopic about wrestling. Yeah. I understand. But for a film that's good, like this film is good, I just wish it didn't breeze over certain aspects of the story here. And it would have been, in my opinion, more effective had it told a complete story of David and Mike. And even the mom, Doris, who I hated.
She's a really good actress, though.
Maura Tierney. Yeah, Maura Tierney's. She's awesome in everything she does. But I hated her character. It's just because she stood by and let it all happen, and she was not there for her children when they needed her, and she was just kind of along for the ride. And it just, I mean, I think what really did me in was like I didn't like certain characters, and you can't help that is because that's who they were. But I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I did kind of feel that a bit. Like there are a lot of characters they have to kind of dig into, and then when the brothers start dying, it's like it feels sometimes very unceremonious.
Right.
And there's a lot of time spent with Kevin and his sort of deteriorating mental health over losing his brothers, and I don't think, there are definitely things in this movie that were embellished. I don't think he tried to choke out his dad when Carrie died, but they did try to play that up. And I know that I don't know how much saying Kev had in this, but he did talk lovingly about his dad in like documentaries and stuff, but he was apparently very hard on the boys and pushed them, arguably too hard. I think there's a reason that what happened to their family happened. And
yeah, I mean, of course, the mom and dad bear the responsibility here. And especially, towards the end where Kevin reaches out to his dad and he's like, hey, can you check in on Carrie? And his dad's like,
nope,
hey,
I'm going to go farm.
Yeah, he called you. You deal with it.
Yeah, it is crazy. Like, because I do know like people who are that emotionally closed off.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you don't hear this cry for help. We've already lost one son to suicide. And I'm telling you, Carrie's not doing well and you are not responding to it.
Yeah.
They did put Fritz in a very bad light. I don't know if he was as bad as they portrayed in this film, but certainly didn't seem to have much of a care. And then when the character shows up and Carrie's dead, he just starts blaming his son. He's like, he called you and you did nothing. Yeah. He hauled his ass out across the country to come and see him. I don't know what you're talking about. You were here. But yeah.
I and I didn't understand. I mean, I guess I do understand, but like it was a weird filmmaking decision. I don't know if this actually happened, but Kevin's carrying Carrie's body and he lays them on the dining room table, and it's the
that I'm pretty sure was just for the movie.
The symbology of hey, this is the table we used to eat at as a family, and
oh yeah, right, okay. So here's the thing, but then you get this heaven.
Oh,
and
yeah,
at first when it started, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, Carrie's rowing down the river, and he shows up, and his brothers are there, and even the little 5-year-old brother, he's like, you're my brother, and we're brothers, and we're back together. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Is this movie really doing? And then it cuts back to Kevin, and you get the idea is that's what Kevin's doing
right
in his heart, really to keep himself sane. Like, clearly mental illness is something that trends in this family, and him, imagining the afterlife for his brothers being this good thing helps him move on. I'm fine with that. Once they kind of cut back that, I was like, oh, okay. But this whole thing of it, like the movie just straight up showing us Carrie arrive in heaven on a boat, I was a bit much for me in the moment.
Yeah, it was a kind of a shock because it was something that it was so out of left field for how the movie had gone. And you're right, when it cuts back to Kevin, you're like, oh, okay, I got it.
I'm like, woo. Oh.
But I also thought the decision to have Zac Efron finally break down in tears.
I love the ending.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good, is because
his boys wrestle or play. Who they are both alive and they are both pro wrestlers.
Oh, they really?
Yes. So Carrie had a daughter named Lacey. I think she has some other siblings as well, but she was a wrestler briefly, and then both of those two boys, Kevin's boys, are pro wrestlers, and they showed you that. I don't know if you stayed long enough, but you saw the picture of
Yeah.
his whole squad of family, and you hope for a happy ending for Kev. And if you ever get a chance to watch interviews with Kevin, he's a really interesting guy. But it's as happy of an ending as you can get. But the whole line of "I used to be a brother," I believe he said that in an interview. He's like, "I used to be a brother, but now I don't have any brothers," and that's just like crazy to think about. Like,
right.
Having all these brothers. And I believe that one thing that this movie did right was just show the closeness, because, Kev was very much saying, I just love wrestling with my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I love to do. And to not have them anymore, and to lose them all at such young ages is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a film at each funeral, we see Zach. We see a close up of Zac Efron. He's very stoic, and he's
not crying because men don't cry.
Because men don't cry.
Yeah.
And even at the end of the film, he says to his kids, "Oh, y'all shouldn't see me like this. We're not supposed to cry." I just felt, I really.
And his kids were like, "I cry all the time."
Right,
boss.
right.
And he's finally like, "Yeah, fuck this shit." Like this emotional constipation is what my wife has called it before. Is bad for you. And it's bad for your family.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I just appreciated that part of the movie that really kind of pushed that forward. And of course, kids being kids, like, well, we'll be your brothers, and just how cute that is. I mean, you're not really my brothers because I'm your dad, and
right.
Yeah, I'm going to be raising you. It doesn't work that way. But, that him kind of breaking out and realizing, he's got this wife who I didn't know this. He's still with, wrestlers are notoriously run through a lot of wives. So I really liked the ending. And I think that's what kind of iced it. It did try to go out with a tone of hope. In what is a pretty hopeless story, the last crawl, where they show Kev and his huge family and that they're thriving, and there is no Von Erich curse, it's just, they're moving on. I thought was just a great tone of positivity in an otherwise pretty depressing movie. And a lot of directors would try to leave you depressed, Aronofsky, but the movie was like, here's a sad story, but there is hope. Things can get better and do get better, which I appreciated.
Yeah, I thought it was effective at a certain point in the movie after Kevin's wife, Pam, has, I think it's their first child. They go to get his birth certificate, and the lady asks, "Hey, what's his last name?" And he gives the kid his wife's last name.
No, he gives him his original last name. So Von Erich is none of their last names. The real last name is Atkinson. Von Erich is Fritz's performing name.
Okay.
And so when you go into wrestling, that's the thing about wrestling, especially in the old days when they were really trying to protect it and have it be legit, so to speak, where the audience isn't in on it. So when Fritz Von Erich has kids, clearly their name's going to be Von Erich, because if they're running around as Atkinson, people will be like, what the fuck?
Right.
They briefly alluded to it in this movie. There was one point where after David died, they tried to make up a new Von Erich, and they called him Lance or Vance. I can't remember. But the fans were like, this guy's not a Von Erich. And it's just this sort of weird world that kayfabe is. If you don't know what that is, check out the 10-week pro wrestling crash course. You'll learn about it. But
what a plug.
I know, right? But it's just kind of this interesting thing of wrestling at the time. So you familiar with the $1 Million Man?
Yes.
Ted DiBiase?
Yeah.
He was like, Vince McMahon called him in the office, like, all right, you're going to be the $1 Million Man. And in order to sell it, they always put him in really fancy hotels, and he always got drove to the arena in limousines. They essentially had him live that way, and all the other wrestlers had to go in on the bus, but they had to do that because if you saw the $1 Million Man get off of public transit, you'd be like, what the fuck? He's not the $1 million man. You know what I mean? And that was just kind of the craziness of the time when the fans weren't in on it. They had to try to make it look real.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this film is full of great bits and pieces of film and acting and storytelling, and I did appreciate the fact that this film did tie it all together. It's because I could see like a story like this that involves a lot of traumatic experiences by one family, one person, kind of slipping, in spending too much time on one or not the other. And even though personal opinion, I would have liked more time with each. I do ultimately think that the movie does a really good job of kind of giving each a moment to shine. Like Mike got his moment playing the gig. David got, and I believe David's moment was in the bathroom with his brother.
Also cutting that promo on Ric Flair. Or was that Harley Race?
I don't know. But
I think it was Harley Race. Yeah.
I think Carrie was the Ric Flair.
No. Oh, that's yeah. What did you think of Ric Flair? Because one of the big things that came out of this movie were wrestling fans were pissed about this Ric Flair.
I mean, his patented white hair. I mean, sure, but
that's all they got. Like this guy,
right.
And I get that you like. Someone said it must be tough to try to do Ric Flair, and it's true. I don't think you can, and maybe you work around that as opposed to get this guy to do his shitty Ric Flair impression. But oh my gosh, was it bad? And the Harley Race one wasn't much better, but Harley Race isn't as memorable as Ric Flair is. Ric Flair is larger than life. So my solution would be call the WWE and be like, hey, can we get that footage from this promo and put it in our movie and then just film around him, because you can't do Ric Flair. He's just too iconic.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bit part because it's a section of the film that serves a purpose. And like it's Carrie's portion of the movie.
No, it's Kev's.
No, Ric Flair, where Carrie fights Ric Flair.
Carrie doesn't. Oh, yeah, he does, but the promo I don't think happens until after that when Kev is fighting him. Unless I'm wrong, you might be right. I might be completely.
I don't think Kevin fights Ric Flair.
Kevin wrestles him in this movie. You don't get to see the Carrie match. Carrie does wrestle him too. He wins the title off of him.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, but like, Carrie's moment is the being selected to fight Flair, and then kind of gain that stardom from it. And I just like each part serves a purpose, and so at the end of the day, I can't find a gripe with it other than my personal opinion of, hey, Durkin, make a longer movie next time. But I don't know, man. It's a good film.
Yeah. There were a few wrestling cameos, but none of them major at all. Like Chavo Guerrero Jr. was the opening match against Kev, and he also did all the training for all the wrestlers, and he did all the training on Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. He's like the movie guy that they go get. So Chavo was in there. One of the executive producers is a guy named, if you watch any AEW, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He was in there briefly. I think he played Lance Von Erich, the fake Von Erich, which is funny. But that was really it. It was pretty light on wrestling cameos. So
which I'm good with. You're right. I don't.
Yeah,
need,
like they
I don't
didn't
need to
go
see
out
a
of their
bunch
way.
of. Yeah. I mean,
You
this
didn't
is
need
not
Hulk Hogan in the back being like, brother.
No, I mean. Okay. Do you recommend this one?
Yeah, I do. I really liked it. It is depressing, but I think the acting's really good. The story's well done, and I think Holt McCallany deserves an Oscar for his performance, even though they're not going to give it to him.
Yeah, and I echo your sentiments. I recommend this one as well. It's not often you come across a movie that can take a lot of different threads and weave them together in a cohesive story about, family and brotherhood like this does. And so, understated again is Zac Efron. He anchors the movie. He might not be the best actor in the film, but he's the most charismatic, in my opinion. Jeremy Allen White is very charismatic as well, but I just think like Zac Efron is like that every man in Hollywood. He can kind of just do every role and be just good at it. And now I don't know what would happen if like he took a part in a drama that didn't allow him to, work out 85 hours a day. But right. But I just really enjoy his performances. And the movies don't have to be great, but his performances are always really good. And I think that he elevates movies. And then, of course, McElhaney elevates it here. Jeremy Allen White elevates it. Maura Tierney elevates it. So I mean, you have a lot of those caliber actors that elevate this film past being good into that, kind of upper echelon of film. And yeah, I recommend it as well.
Yeah. So would you say this was your favorite pro wrestling movie this month?
It was.
Okay.
How about yours?
Probably Ready to Rumble. No, I mean this is a great movie, but I like Ready to Rumble. It kind of is stupid. And I understand that, and it makes sense that it's stupid, but
it's dumb.
What am I going to say? I like
what you can say is it's draft night, you bitches.
Yeah, we're specifically talking to the female dogs out there.
Anyways, it's draft night, and we're going into year 4 on the podcast, and so every June we get together and we celebrate by redrafting past themes from the years previous. And this year we are going to be drafting from even more themes, but there are some that are off the table.
Yeah, I'll just run it down quick. So last year was our first annual draft a theme, and we drafted Cage Month, so we can't redraft that. Martial Arts Month, Westerns, Van Damme, and movies starring musicians. But we still have 20, 25 different ones we can work with here. So,
there's movies.
We have
there's
no shortage of themes.
Yeah. So Jeff, do you want to go first?
Sure. Let me pull my notes up because I accidentally clicked away. It's loading. All right. So this is one that I wanted to draft before for this theme, and I think it's we kind of have to do it. So I'm gonna. Let's do like we did last time. We're gonna have 2 drafts. Let's draft our theme, okay, and then we'll come back around and tell you our movies.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
How's that sound?
Yeah. Let's go.
All right. So I'm gonna draft the theme erotic thrillers.
Erotic thrillers. I'm writing these down. All right. Let's see. I will draft musicals.
That makes me nervous.
Oh, it shouldn't though. Musicals was our best month on the podcast, I think.
Actually, that's incorrect. Erotic thrillers was our best month on the podcast.
So we got bangers. Speaking. We got bangers back to back weeks.
We were so far good start. Now, I think I'm going to take survival horror.
Ooh.
Where a group of people are trying to survive the night.
Okay. All right, let me see what I got left here. Ooh, this is difficult. All right, so I have 2 MCU actors. That was one of our first themes we ever did. It was actors who played a role in the MCU. I got 3 movies that I could pick from, or Matthew McConaughey month. And if I pick Matthew McConaughey month, I don't think you're going to like the film.
So I'm going to vote for the other one.
I also have a Christopher Nolan film because we did Nolan month.
No, we didn't.
Early on in the podcast, yeah, we did.
We never did Christopher Nolan month.
Yes, we did.
We did not.
We did. We
Name
did.
the movies we watched.
We did Prestige. We did. What's the one in Alaska with Robin Williams? We did.
No, but that wasn't 1 month.
Are you sure?
Yes, because you said. What was the first one you said?
The Prestige.
Yeah, we did that for actors in multiple roles.
Oh, yeah, we did.
And then psychological thrillers was
psychological
what we did for
that's
that.
right. Damn it. Okay. All right, so Christopher Nolan's out. All right, I'll let you pick. MCU or...
MCU.
All right, MCU. All right.
I could have maybe said pro wrestling month and just said draft another one. I did have a pro wrestling movie on here, but I figured I'll wait. You know, I don't want to dump the Hulk Hogan classic on you just yet.
Oh, God.
So for my movie, for Erotic Thrillers month, I think we needed to go back to where it all began.
Okay.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Could you guess the question? It's one I've asked you a few times. Who is the king?
Oh, God damn it.
Who is the
Michael
king?
Douglas movie?
Michael Douglas is the king of erotic thrillers.
Okay.
So we're going to watch the one that started it all.
Okay.
From 1987. It's Glenn Close. It's Michael Douglas. It's Fatal Attraction.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh my gosh, it's good.
All right, I'm down. All right, I got a choice to make for musical month. I got two musical bangers, I think.
Ooh. Pick the one you think I'll like the most. Are any of them musical wrestling movies?
No. I don't know. No. I don't know which one you would like more. Because I know which one you would.
Which one's sillier?
Okay.
Is one more clearly silly than the other?
Yes. So, all right. So from the year 2011, we are going to watch The Muppets, starring Jason Segel and Amy Adams. And it's got one of film's all-time great songs in it.
Yeah. You know who wrote that song?
Who?
Brett McKenzie of Flight of the Conchords.
Did he really? The one, one with Jason Segel and the Muppet?
I believe so.
Okay.
We'll fact check it, but he wrote the Oscar-winning song.
Yeah, it was Oscar nominated. It was Oscar nominated. Yeah.
Well, so this is one that I've been wanting to do since we watched Bordello of Blood. Do you remember Bordello of Blood?
I do remember Space Vampires.
No, that was not Space Vampires. Bordello Blood.
Oh,
is the one,
where they go to the brothel and
the brothel.
yeah. Okay.
So that was the second of 2 Tales from the Crypt films.
Why do you do this to me?
Because I love these movies.
Why?
So we're going to watch from 1995, starring William Sadler, who was in the opening of that movie. He was the head that was dead. Thomas Hayden Church, who we've seen in a number of our films.
Yeah.
Billy Zane, Jada Pinkett Smith. We're going to watch Tales from the Crypt, Demon Night. I'm excited. Are you excited?
No.
What?
I've never heard of this film.
Of course you haven't.
What year is it from?
90, where'd it go? 95. That's basically brand new.
Lightly used.
Yeah. Hey, this shit came out on DVD, man, not VHS. Actually, that's not true. 95 would have been VHS. Yep. I take it back.
All right. Hate to do it to you.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to take my lumps because I did Demon Night.
What year is this from? The 2013. All right. So we're going back. We're going back in the catalog a little bit. It stars Scarlett Johansson, or the voice of Scarlett Johansson.
I don't like where this is going. Not that I don't like Scarlett Johansson, but the voice of.
Yep. Also stars Joaquin Phoenix.
I'm not happy about this.
We're gonna watch the movie Her. Her. And please tell me you've never seen it before.
I've never seen it before.
Thank you, Jesus. All right.
I don't want to watch this.
Yep, we're gonna watch that.
Shit, I should have picked a Hulk Hogan movie.
You picked some fucking Tales from the Crypt bullshit.
Man, that movie kicks ass though.
So
Listen, I was gonna pick No Holds Bar, where there's a scene in the movie where Hulk Hogan grabs a guy and he's threatening him, and he's like, "What's that smell?" And that guy goes, "Dookie," and he goes, "Dookie," because the guy shit his pants and then he throws him across the hood of a car. You're telling me that Her is going to be better than that?
Listen, my other options for MCU were Mark Ruffalo in the film Spotlight, or
I think he's just going to pick horse shit either way.
Chris Hemsworth. This wasn't going to be horse shit, but we would have ended the month on a banger.
We would have, but you decided not to.
We're going to watch Extraction 2.
That would have been perfect. Because we watched the Extraction 1 here on the pod.
That's correct.
We reviewed it. It's in the back catalog.
It is.
But you did this shit.
Well, it's because you picked two old-ass fucking movies, man.
Well, hold up. Fatal Attraction is dope.
Have you
ever seen it?
No, I've never seen it, so I'm excited to watch it.
And you've never seen Demon Night.
And I've never seen that.
And you're judging it before having seen it like you're me. That's my shit. I do that. Her's gonna suck.
It's got an 8.0 IMDb rating.
Fuck. I don't give a shit. What did Demon Night have? Demon Night had a 48.
Tales from... Where's Demon? Oh, God.
Man, Demon Night has this opening. So it's got... You ever heard the song, Hey Man, Nice Shot by Filter?
Yes.
It opens with that shit.
Hey,
it's
though
awesome.
It's got a 6.7 on IMDb.
Oh, man, it kicks ass. I think you'll like it.
Listen,
I really like it. It's fun. And you liked Bordello of Blood.
I did. It was fun.
Yeah.
We're going to have to pay to watch this one.
I'll buy it. As long as it's on Movies Anywhere, I'll probably buy it.
Her is on Max. Let's write this down. So Her is on Max. Money symbol next to Demon Night. I think The Muppets is on Disney Plus.
Because it's gonna be money. I'll look up Fatal Attraction.
Yeah. Oh, Muppets is not on Disney. Oh, it's got to be on Disney Plus. It's a Disney film.
MGM Plus.
That's The Muppets?
Which, No, Fatal Attraction.
MGM Plus, which is I think part of Prime. Like a separate.
I don't know.
Separate thing. Anyways,
you can do the free preview either way. Go watch that for free.
Yeah. No. Listen, we got a collection of an eclectic collection. An eclectic collection. Say that 5 times fast.
An
eclectic collection of film that I'm excited. Like this is fun. This is what the month should be. The month should be all different types of film from all different ranges, from all different years. Even though I hate it.
You'll yeah, you do hate it, don't you?
I do hate it. But it's an attempt to get me to watch films I've likely never seen.
Okay,
so.
of the ones, so we've completed 3 full years.
Yeah.
Of this, what are your favorite old ass movies I've had you watch? Like, pick 3 that you would unequivocally be like, this was a good movie.
What was the Little Shop of Horrors?
Yeah, Little Shop. Little Shop of Horrors.
What was the? I don't know. What was the vampire, the space vampire? I mean,
you did not like.
No,
space vampires.
I hated it, but I would have never watched it without this podcast, and I would never have that memory. And then what's the other one? The one with the trucker.
Road Games.
Yeah, Road Games.
That was a good one. Here, I'll pick 3 brand new movies that I like that you
okay.
watch.
All right.
So, I don't think there are any. No, I'd have to look at the catalog here. I know there are some good. I would say the big surprise was Karate Kid, the remake.
Yeah,
I loved that shit.
Extraction.
I'm just pulling up. I liked Extraction. I think there are some that deserve a little more love. That I liked a lot more, I should say. Let's see. I've got the podcast feed here. Let's see. I did like Nimona, but there's got to be something. I know there is.
You're struggling. It's fine. You don't have to force it.
No. Light of My Life. That was good.
That was good.
Movie. Anna and the Apocalypse. There we go. Look at it. I've done it.
By George. Anyways, join us next week as we dive into Fatal Attraction. And if you want to dive into following us on all our social media platforms, you can do so at Movie Draft House. We're on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, right here on YouTube. So hit the subscribe button when it pops up so you don't miss any future content right here on the podcast. And if you want to follow Jeff on Twitter, which is now X, who cares? But you can you're right. You can find him in on that platform and say, "Hey man, Tales from the Crypt deserves its own podcast."
I agree. I think that's a great idea, Mark. Would you like to start a new podcast with me where we watch episodes of Tales from the Crypt and review them? No, I didn't think so.
I am not the one. You can find them at Podcast by Jeff.
And if you want to get in touch with Mark and tell him, hey, something that you promised years and years ago was 30 Days of Jared Leto.
It is.
And you haven't done it yet. You can find him on Twitter at I Heard You Liked.
Listen, life gets in the way, all right? Maybe I'll just do a quick...
Maybe we'll do Jared Leto month in August or July, whatever, We can really just fuck us over. Like, the Jared Leto movies we've watched have not been good. That's not true.
Nope.
Dallas Buyers Club was good. But that Mr. Nobody was awful.
Yeah, that was garbage. All right, I'm not against it. Let's brainstorm. I want it to be organic.
Okay.
Anyways, Jeff, any last words?
None whatsoever. We'll see you next year.